Peter Eliades with you again. This is Thursday, August 29th. We have some interesting things to show you today. Follow up on some prior projections and offsets that we showed you. So let's get right into it. This is a weekly bar chart of the S&P 500 cash index. The blue lines, of course, representing the high and low for the week. This is last week when the projection was just barely given by moving below the projection line. We made the projection line a lot easier to see because although our new offsets are more accurate, this simple 10-week offset for a nominal 20-week projection is exactly accurate. There's nothing inaccurate about it, but it's only one line and it makes it clear and distinct for you to see. We pointed out to you yesterday that a downside projection had been given, and that projection called for a low side of 27.1749 and on the high side 27.7394. We had given you actually lower projections than that, but that was on the daily chart, which is it's more of a microcosm and it gives you more exacting projections. But these are good general ideas as to where the downside nominal 20-week projection is. And we also told you that the only way that that could be invalidated was by prices getting back above the projection, the offset line. Well, the offset line is right around the 29.30 level. That's the green line right here. This green line, by the way, is offset to the right 10 weeks. So if you go forward 10 weeks from here, that will show you where the green offset line is, offset 10 weeks forward in time. This price right here simply goes back 10 weeks. 7, 8, 9. We don't quite have that on the chart, but there it is now. So this offset, this green offset line, if you go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, the midpoint of that week right here represents this midpoint right here for this week. So as long as we stay below that line, and when I say we stay below, I mean the median for the week, the midpoint of the high and low for the week stays below this line, that downside projection that we just gave you remains in effect. What would it take to get above it? We gave you a rough idea yesterday, but let's look at it again. The midpoint is represented by the connected dots here that go from week to week. They each go to the midpoint of the high-low of each week. So in order to get this median line this week above here, it doesn't take much to visualize that the high for the week would have to be an equal distance from here to here measured forward again, which would be up in this area somewhere, and we told you around the 3,000 level. So if we can get to the 3,000 level tomorrow in the S&P, then it might call a projection into question. But that's 75 points higher than we are right now, so it seems quite unlikely. So this projection remains in effect despite the nice rally we saw today, up 36.64 points on the S&P cash. So we wanted to make that clear to you. Let's quickly show you what the same offset line looks like on the DJIA. The DJIA shows basically the same configuration. So the downside projection has been given, 24,173.67 to 24,760.03. This is the line you have to get above. The median has to get above in order to invalidate the projection. The line right now on the Dow is right around 26,479. So you can see visually now, let me take the numbers off again, that from here to here and an equal distance above there is somewhere well above here. We're talking about the Dow having to get to 27,300 by the end of this week in order to invalidate that projection. So I wanted to establish for you that despite today's strength, this downside projection to this area remains in effect. So knowing that much, then the next thing we might want to use the cycle projections for is, okay, what kind of rally can we have? What are we going to look for in terms of a rally? And the first thing we can look at, well, I like to look at closing projection charts. And so here is a closing projection chart for the New York Composite Index. The New York Composite Index, by the way, is my most favorite index for doing price projections on, because it tends to be the most accurate. And look what happened here over the past few days. This was the closing low back on the 23rd of August. We had a little rally up, a down move. Now we've had 2 consecutive up days, and in crossing above both the red and, in this case, the gray offset line here, the blue line, which represents the closing prices, has generated an upside projection. What is that upside projection? Well, it ranges from between 12,698.78 to as high as I'm going to take you, because it's too complicated chart-wise to get up to this point here. But as you can see, it's 650, 700, 750, right around 12,800 on the New York Composite Index. But the most important thing is that look where we closed today. We closed inside the projection window. So with a move to the upside, a counter-trend move, we believe, because of our downside projections, and a counter-trend move that moved right into the projection window, that could well be marking a closing high for the S&P. Let's bring in that's the New York Composite. Let's bring in the S&P now and look at that and see where we stand with the S&P. It's almost the same situation, but the S&P makes it clear that you just missed by a tiny bit. On the S&P, the minimum upside is 29.2761. Mind you, these are closing projections, and today's close was 29.2458, within about 2.5 points. So is that close enough? I would say it's close enough, but it also suggests that there may be one more slight move to the upside here, taking us into the projection box. So that's basically where we stand. We have a downside projection confirmed. We have met some short-term upside projections. I guess we should take a quick look at the next longer projections for the S&P on the closing basis chart. The blue line is the close here. The shorter offset is the black line. The longer one is the red line. Notice how closely, this is quite amazing, how closely the closing price is following the offset line. In other words, they're mirroring the prices from 7 and 8 days ago. So there's no new projection being given here because there's no crossing above projection lines. If we take a look at the next longer projection, this is the nominal 5-week with a 12.1 and a 13.8. This is a little more mixed up, but again, notice this projection, 2928.28. And we just missed that today with a 29.24. So we now have 2 projections that are suggesting at least 29.27, 29.28. That suggests that we may hold up for another day here if indeed we're going to meet those downside projections. So that's where we stand as of the close of Thursday. And we'll do an in-depth update for you on Friday because things are getting very interesting here. Thanks for watching.